What is up, everyone? Well, this is my favorite episode yet that you're about to hear. This is with the guitarist and singer of both Wovenwar and Oh Sleeper. Both are bands that I grew up very heavily influenced by, and just, Oh Sleeper is one of those bands that got me into music. Them, Under Oath, The Devil Wears Prada, they were like the big three in my life in high school. So to get to sit down and talk to Shane a little bit about tour experiences and the music he makes and stories with Micah and just the whole thing, it's very surreal for me. Unfortunately, while we were recording this, I am dealing with COVID, so my voice definitely sounds a little fucked up on this episode. But this time it's not due to technical difficulties like the last time. So I hope you all enjoy. I had a blast doing this interview and talking to my new friend Shane. Dude, thank you so much for coming on my show. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Sorry we took like 3 months to get it done because we're both insanely busy.
Dude, and honestly, I feel bad because like as the host, I feel bad that I rescheduled on you, even though I couldn't speak like at all. I was so sick. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, this is the first interview I'm doing for this show, by the way, so extra special. But then I was like, of course, the first interview I'm doing is ruined by COVID. Like, I was so pissed. But anyway, so dude, I have so many things to ask you about, and but I made myself a nice little organized list of topics to go down with.
So organized when you're first. First run at this.
Thank you. Do you currently have Discord pulled up right now? Because I want to send you some photos to start.
Sure. Yeah, I've got it on right now.
So I just sent you 2 photos, and I don't know if it's the kind of thing that you're gonna instantly recognize, but these are 2 tours that I was fortunate enough to get to see you on in Lynchburg, Virginia. Do you have any recollection of these shows or ever come into the Crosspoint Church?
Oh yeah, Lynchburg. We always set off the fire alarm there, and I think the last time we were there, I don't remember who it was with. I guess it was the second flyer here. I think we had to go outside because our fog machine just flooded the entire building.
No, that wasn't this show then, because I don't remember that.
Okay, well it might have been because we played there a bunch of times, and I know that like whoever runs that place like knows about our fog machine.
Yeah,
and we just like to make it where no one can see anything, just chaos and light.
Yes.
But yeah, one of those times we had to go outside, like fire marshal got called or something.
Oh my. So I will tell you the one on the, well, I don't know if it's on the right for you, but it's the one with Blood of the Martyrs. That was I think it was either the last or the second to last Crosspoint show ever.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was the only time I ever got to see you guys there, which it was insane. And I'm going to tell you this, I was homeschooled. It was my first ever concert, and I was only allowed to go because it was at a church. And
jeez.
So this is a funny story. My mom dropped me and a friend off, and she like saw everyone walking around the parking lot with the tattoos and the piercings and stuff like that. And she was like, that's it. That was your first and only concert you're ever going to.
Of course.
But then the second show here was actually at a different location than Crosspoint. And at this show, I don't know if you remember this, but on the right side, you had the speaker monitors. They completely fell over onto the crowd.
I don't remember that.
That shit was insane. And it was in a church, Shane. Like,
yeah, totally. Are you saying on the right as of if you're looking at the stage?
If I'm looking at the stage, the right monitors, at least the one, they were stacked. They weren't secured at all. And the top one just fell off, and a bunch of people caught it and put it back up middle of the song.
Yeah, that's on Seth's side. So, and I'm looking at my guitar or a mic typically the entire set. So. Yeah, I probably didn't even notice.
But it was the best first metal show ever. Like, those 2 concerts combined, those were the first time I had seen a metal show.
Great.
thus spun my whole world. Yeah, man. So I have to bring this up because in doing some research before I had you on, I found a video of you being promoted to blue belt on stage.
Yeah, my jiu-jitsu coach. I had my whole team come out to that show. That was a home show, and it was sold out, and it was crazy and wild. And I didn't know he was going to do that, but obviously he's like a black belt in jiu-jitsu. And at some point, I ran over, like we were having a great show, and in the middle of the set, he was kind of side stage, and I ran over and I go, "I'm the black belt here, bitch!" And then I like ran away and jumped in the crowd or something. And he was like, "That comment right there almost cost you your blue belt." But he talked to the whole team, and they all came on stage. They were side stage when he did it, but yeah, he promoted me right there. It was awesome.
Dude, that shit was so cool. Like, and so unexpected. Like, just to watch. Yeah. I was like, did he really just do this? And I was like, this should happen all the time.
I know, right? Yeah, he if you're into jiu-jitsu at all, you kind of form a brotherhood with all the dudes that you try to kill every day.
Right, I'm sure.
And yeah, I mean, they all came out. They've come out to every Sleeper show since I've started there. And yeah, there's my boys, and it was freaking awesome. I think that's the only time that's happened in jiu-jitsu. So
I'd be surprised if I found another video of a guy in a metal band or rock band getting promoted on stage like that in their home. You said hometown or just home state? That's hometown. So cool.
Yeah.
Well, Shane, I have listened to Oh Sleeper. They were probably one of the first bands that I got into when I was homeschooled, so I was sheltered, and I got into like the kind of the Christian metal world first before I wouldn't say abandoned the Christian music scene, but I feel like the Christian music kind of grew with me, if that makes any sense. We're talking like bands like Under Oath, like you guys, Prada, and I think one of the most special moments I had as a fan at that time, at this point I was in high school, is I got to see you at the second show we were talking about, the speakers falling down. And I actually met you in the hall. And this was like, 12, 13 years ago? I don't even know. But I remember the only question I wanted to ask you, I got to ask you, and it was about the banter and the religion stuff that you and Micah do in your songs. And I think my specific question to you at the time was about Reveries of Flight. And I thought that was the coolest thing in the whole world. And now, even being 26 and not religious at all, I still think that is so cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 40 and not religious at all, and I still think it's awesome.
Yeah,
I've never have been religious. So.
That was the other thing I think you told me, and you can correct me if this has changed or wrong, but you told me that you were an atheist at the time.
Oh yeah, I've always. I mean, I don't care what you call it, but I've never believed in superstitious Christianity stuff.
Yeah, and I was just I was so dumbfounded that you were that honest with me, I guess was my point. Just a fan asking you a question. I thought that was so cool.
Yeah, I'm known for being a pretty blunt person, and I get in trouble for it a lot. And Micah has to go on interviews and like apologize for me a lot. But yeah, I mean, I get that song Means to Believe. I get a lot of questions about those, and it's always the same, response and same question really. So I've had a lot of that.
Yeah, and I actually have a list of songs here that I've listened to that I've kind of wanted to ask you about if it had. If there was any of that banter going on in these songs, whether it was a little bit far removed from the religious subject or not, but you and Micah just communicate a lot in your music in general, right?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's an argument or sometimes it's like a narrative perspective type thing. Like, in Hushael, we wrote it about this really horrible thing that happened in which a mother kind of had to watch her family die, basically. Mm-hmm. And I was the voice of the mother, and he was just sort of the narrator of the story. It's just sometimes it doesn't have to be like a conversation between him and I personally, which it has been a lot, but sometimes it's just a narrative perspective thing.
Well, let me ask you about this song, because I have this one on my list and it hasn't come up yet. Two Ships, off of your most recent album with Oh Sleeper. That song seems like it kind of has some kind of banter within it. Was that?
Oh, it definitely does. Two Ships is about whenever I joined Wovenwar, the Asley Dying guys, and we didn't talk for a long time, Micah and I, and we're best friends, dude. We're like, I mean, we're blood brothers at this point, and so it was very not like us to not talk. So we didn't talk for almost a year, and then Wovenwar played Dallas with Periphery, I think. And it was just a huge show, and I got everybody on the list, got everybody to come to House Blues from Oh Sleeper, and everybody showed up, everybody got drunk, everybody had a great time, and Micah just kind of lost it. He was a mess that night, and I'm not saying this to embarrass him or anything. He was just emotionally a mess, like seeing his brother on stage without him. And so anyway, Two Ships came about, and you'd have to ask Micah about this because he wrote most of the lyrics for that, if not all of them. How his ship was going one way and mine was going another way, and he looked at like this such a polished like Wovenwar was really tight live, in my opinion. And we had all the backing of Metal Blade. We had really good management, really good booking agent. Everything was aligned with that band, just like from the get-go. We had a great team, and he saw that and metaphored it as this amazing ship while he's on his like dinghy, and we're just passing in the night, never to see each other again, type thing. And the story of Bloodied and Bound is kind of a story about Micah and I separating and then getting back together for that record, for the last Oh Sleeper records.
And you can totally hear it on the record, listening to it from front to back, because I mean, it's the same thing with Fisher, obviously. And I'm saying that right, correct?
Fisher?
Yeah. Okay.
Fisher, yeah. Not Fisher.
Yeah. Got it. So on that song, like, it's definitely a different conversation, but that was my favorite song on the whole album, and possibly one that my favorite song by you guys in general. Because I was older personally. I was an adult now at this point, and now Oh Sleeper has released a new album, and I pay attention to the lyrics with certain bands, and y'all are one of them. Especially after having that conversation with you in that old smelly church that one time when I was in high school. It's like, I'm going to pay attention to this shit now.
Yeah, totally.
But that makes perfect sense that you say that whole album could be a reflection of you and Micah. Heavy Hands on the EP that you guys released was another one that I wanted to bring up because it was one of my personal favorites. And personally, I think your voice sounds really good on it. And I think it sounded different from your normal stuff on that song.
Yeah, thanks. I've got to think of the lyrics. I can't even remember what they're about right now. I played that not too long ago as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So hang on. I'm thinking of the riff right now. I have to hear it or play it. Once I know the first line, I know the rest of the song.
Is that how it works with musicians a lot? It's like once they hear the first note, it's like the whole thing comes to them.
Yeah, with my new country band, I have to. If I know the first word, I can do the entire song, any guitar solo, whatever. But with Heavy Hands, let's see. I just need a guitar. That's all I need. All right, so you're gonna get an a cappella acoustic performance here. Dream was meant to sleep. Yeah, okay. I got it now.
Okay.
Thought that happiness would follow its lead. Only I believe. It's kind of like Means to Believe. Once you reach the top of like what you dreamed music could be in your life, you find out like it wasn't, that could be for anything.
For sure.
I mean, the summit, it kind of itches the same scratch there, where you get to the top of the mountain and you realize that you just wish you're back at the bottom, like doing the climb again. I think Heavy Hands was a lament to a sleeper, because we didn't know if we were going to be a band after that EP, and it was just a hard time, like Micah had just gotten married, or he was about to get married, sorry, and James had just quit a year or two before that, and it just seemed like everything was going downhill. And I think that was just sort of like, that song was just sort of like my lament to the band, if it was going to keep going or not. The Brightest Sword sees no war. Like, we were just beaten up.
Yeah.
From touring for 10 years at that point, or I had been touring since I was 17. So
that's nuts to think about.
Yeah, my band Evelyn started touring when I was about actually 16. I think we went on our first run. And then we ended when I was 18, and the last show we had played was with Between the Buried and Me. Those guys saw me play, and I got their number, and they asked me to join them later that year. So I've just been on tour since I was a kid. So.
And I'm not a musician at all, by the way. I should have made that clear. I am just a fan of music in general. And when I watch interviews or listen to podcasts about people talking about how they've been touring since they were teenagers, like the Under Oath dude, Spencer and Aaron, whenever they talk about it, it's like, oh yeah, Aaron was 14 when he started playing drums at Under Oath. It's like, dude, that is insane. And how that it cannot be easy, and it's got to be rough on kids at first.
Yeah, that tour I was talking about when I was 17 was with Spee, was with Spencer.
Really?
Yeah, me and his band, I think they were called This Runs Through.
Yeah.
And my band Evelyn, we all packed into a van together for like 2 months. In one van, there was, I think, 13 of us. And me and Spee were bunk mates, and so we just slept on each other for like 2 months. What's really strange about that, if you ever get to talk to him, we call each other Pookie for some reason, because back then we even if we stayed at a person's house on their floor, for some reason me and Spee would sleep together.
So if I say Pookie says hi, he'll know exactly who I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, I'm the only one for sure. He'll be like, he'll probably think you're weird and be like, where did you find that out? Is Shane telling people shit? But yeah, and then his brother Phil, sometimes me and him would sleep together. So this just sounds like a really homosexual thing. It wasn't. We were packed into a van. You got to sleep on each other's laps sometime.
When you hear about especially, and this is like not pre-Warped Tour, because Warped Tour's been going on forever, but before Warped Tour was like mainstream, right? When you hear stories about the touring and vans and stuff like that, it's like, that's normal conversation. Yeah, me and this guy slept in the same bunk. That is a normal thing to happen, and that's totally nuts.
There's nowhere else to go, and you're so tired. There's nothing to do. Like back then, none of us had phones.
Right.
There was nothing to do. I remember on that tour, the bass player for This Runs Through, Joshy, he got the Da Vinci Code. It had just come out, and so these drives were like 7 hours every day or more, and so we just tossed that book around, and that's how we. It sounds so lame, but that's what we did. And
that does not sound lame.
All of us read the Da Vinci Code at the same time, and it was great.
And y'all get to basically have a book club in between gigs. Like, that's so cool.
Yep. Whoever wasn't driving, Spee and another guy, Tyson, in their band, they pretty much drove the entire time. So it was just all the rest of us in the back. Like, Nick from As I Lay Dying, he in Wovenwar, he was on that tour too. He was the other guitar player in Evelyn, so he was part of that fiasco.
Okay, so you sound like a guy that's experienced a lot of touring. So I got to ask this, and I know you've probably gotten this one before, but we'll make it creative. What's the craziest tour story you have from the old era, like before Oh Sleeper and after or during?
Oh, Jesus. Well, I'll leave the drugs out, I guess. I'm just kidding. No, I mean, we used to like. The most dangerous thing we probably ever did, just for my own health, was we set off with, like, stuck in the van. We set off an entire thing of black cats inside the van, like with the windows closed, and we all, like, we had to pull over, and everyone had to like scramble out because we were suffocating. That was horrible, but that was like a health hazard.
Damn.
I mean, like. One time, this is no sleeper story, we were driving through, I think, Detroit, and we were going to a buddy's house, and his name is Needle. We called him Needles because he definitely did steroids. So we were going to Needle's house, and we were driving around his block, and we couldn't find it. And so we start blaring Limp Bizkit, and Zach and Micah climb on top of the van and then start jumping to the trailer and back and forth and back and forth. And I'm like screaming out of the side with my butt hanging out or whatever, and a guy comes out with a gun and stops our car. And he's like, "Get the fuck out of our neighborhood!" Blah blah blah. Like,
oh my god.
So we were at gunpoint. We were at gunpoint for that one. But I mean, if you just look up like Oh Sleeper, Shane and Zach, or just look at either our Instagrams, like if we get together, it's chaos. Zach, the drummer now he drums for Dayseeker, but he's still our drummer, obviously.
I was actually getting ready to say the drummer for Dayseeker had a wild side apparently at one point.
Oh no, he still has it, but it's only around me.
I see.
like for whatever reason, our energy just creates this black hole of chaos, and we both become animalistic morons. And Micah is usually the guy that just kind of has to like either try to wrangle us and then give up, or like apologize for us.
Micah sounds like an absolute saint.
Oh, I mean, he's got his skeletons too, but he can be a wild boy,
dude. And just like, and it's not just you, right? When I hear stories like this, I'm like, it was so different before I was like even 10. Like I hear stories from back then and I'm like, if I was in a band and I was touring, I feel like these things wouldn't happen nowadays, but hey, they might.
No, you'd get either canceled or, arrested or, yeah.
And not only did y'all survive touring, but you also survived the Christian metal scene. Like that's well,
aren't I dead? I'm just kidding.
I was gonna say I haven't heard anything about Shane Blay being canceled. I promise.
Yeah. I just, I'm a big dude and I'm very blunt, so
yeah,
it doesn't do me any favors.
I knew you were blunt when I asked you, "Hey Shane, what does this lyric mean?" You're like, "Well, I'm an atheist, and it means that me and Mike are having a conversation about Christianity versus not." I'm like, yeah. Okay, I can't tell my mom about this conversation.
Oh man.
Oh, dude. But yeah, and other, just to go back to some of these songs on the list, we don't need to hit every single one of them.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, I'm down.
Means to Believe is obviously a huge one. And
yeah, that's my letter to, if there was a God, that would be my letter to him. It's like, why would you make me like this? Why would you make me like the world's biggest skeptic of this nonsense and expect me to believe it?
Now, and you, like, I don't know how personal you want to get here, because religion can be a very personal thing. It cannot be to some people.
I don't care at all.
Awesome. Do you listen to some of these songs still, and like, do they have like heavy meaning to you as the person who wrote them?
Of course, but that doesn't mean that it has to be. I mean, when I think of like, take The Finisher, I don't think about. To me, the Bible is a fantasy story anyway. So like, if Micah can make it cooler and make like a vision of like the devil and God fighting and God ripping his horns off, that's freaking awesome to me. Story wise, that's just a cool thing to think about. But I don't think about the lyrics whenever we're playing that or whatever. I think of just like the time with my boys writing it.
Yeah. Like
we used to practice at this metal shop. And that's where we wrote that song, and I had that riff, the verse riff. I had that carried over from the first record. I was going to use it on that record, but just didn't have a spot for it. And I think Finisher was the first song I wrote for Son of the Morning. So that's the stuff I think about. There's me and Micah in the studio, like getting it, tracking it, and like those are the best times of my life. So that's what of course these songs mean something to me.
Yeah, and I like that you personally never, like, from what I've seen, you never get on and are like, yeah, this is, I sing these words in the name of Jesus Christ, or whatever people used to say, like in metal shows. I liked that you were honest about your beliefs and your part of it. And I like that Micah was honest about his.
Yeah.
Even if a song had different meanings to both of you, like that together, y'all made something so cool in these songs.
I mean, dude, Micah has defended me almost to the death with all these, Christians getting pissed that they have, Oh Sleeper as an atheist in the band, or 2 or 3. I'm the loudest one, and the singer too, so I get a lot of flack. But this wasn't in Lynchburg, but it was somewhere up there in the Northeast. But there's an effect that happens in one of our songs where, like, basically the theory nerd about it. There's just minor seconds going on. I just basically put a pitch shifter on and mix it halfway with, a semitone up. And it sounds like chaos. And so on my Helix, which is just this guitar pedal, the scribble strip on it said, "Holy shit." And that was what I clicked whenever that happened, like the holy shit button. And some kid, or a few kids, saw that at the show and started crying and left. No. And I'm like, dude, if it just justified what I think about the church and everything, but just like weak-minded morons, like, what are you doing? And I get attacked for that crap all the time, or just stuff that's just nonsense. And Micah has defended me for 18 years over it. He will, like, he'll fight anybody for me. And I would defend him in the stuff that he believes too. Like, he never gets flack for it, but if he did, I'd freaking bow up.
That was so cool. Like, I don't know why kids like me thought that was the coolest thing when a Christian metal or rock band said a bad word. It was like, okay, we're here.
Just because you can relate, it's like, oh, they're actually human beings. We tour with Emery all the time, and all those dudes are still of faith, and they're fucking animals.
I love those dudes so much.
They cuss more than I do. Like, Toby has the shittiest mouth, that banjo mouth. He's constantly cussing. That beautiful man. And yeah, like, oh my God, they're people. What a concept.
Well, and they leaned into it with the Bad Christian podcast.
I know. I've been on there
it worked. Yeah, and I've heard your interviews. Dude.
Yeah, Matt's a really good interviewer. He's
incredible. Great. I hope to be half of the interviewer he is one day.
You just have to be, 6'4" and lanky and just have a banjo mouth.
Right.
You'll be halfway there.
Halfway. I got it. It's like when Spee said fuck in the first Under Oath song. And that was after the whole Christian scene had kind of moved on. They still got shit for it. They still had people like knocking down their doors for that. And I was full adult at the time, over the Christianity thing, thinking, this is the dumbest shit I have ever seen in my life.
And Spee's gotten just thrown under the bus for anything. I mean, he came out about his drug use and stuff and just got totally thrown under the bus by the church. I'm just like, dude.
Yeah.
What did it take? What did it take for Spee to like actually, put that out there? Like, why the fuck? God, I hate Christians. Anyway.
Yeah, I am the same way as you. And I honestly, this may be narrow-minded of me because I've had my own experiences too. But seeing what Spencer went through coming out about his drug use and just being an honest guy and seeing how people returned that, it's like one of the main reasons that I stepped away from Christianity and organized religion in general. Because this was the first band I'd ever listened to. Like, you guys and Under Oath were the two first metal bands that got me into the genre. And to see you guys, like, more Spencer than you, obviously, because I just didn't see it with you back then as much. But it pissed me off, man. I was so...
Yeah, I got a song about it on the first Wovenwar record. It's called Prophets, the last one on that record, and it's just about that.
Dude, let's get into some Wovenwar shit. I have to talk about the song Archers first, and then let's get into Prophets after that, if that works for you. Because I think we might have a longer conversation on Archers. I think it is so funny that you named the song Archers and had Micah on it.
Of course. Well, okay. Archers is just a shout out. It's a No Sleeper shout out only. Like, every lyric, almost every line is either a reference to a No Sleeper song or a lyric or a, Archers or any idea about I haven't listened to that song in probably 3 years, but yeah, it's just a call out for a sleeper. It's just like shout out.
Well, and I have the lyrics. I took a screen grab from this song specifically because Micah's part, go on, our brother, you've only just begun, live long with honor, from our fire you are born. Now, first of all, is that the correct lyrics?
Uh-huh.
That was so cool to hear as a listener, because I didn't even know Micah was on the song until years later. And when I realized it was like I had a brain blast. I was like, this is so cool. So yeah, talk about that song a little bit, man.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much said my whole piece about it. It was just I wanted to have Oh Sleeper to have a shout out on the record, a full song, and Phil wrote the music for that song, and we kind of doctored it up just because I had choruses for it and all that. But yeah, and then when I asked Micah to do it, he came up with that lot, his part in probably an hour, and then he just came over to my house and we did that. I recorded that myself in my living room, and that was the whole story, dude. And then that show with Periphery in Dallas that all the Sleeper guys came out to, mm-hmm. and Micah got kind of drunk and pretty emotional at the show. He came on stage with me on Archers, and we did it.
That's so cool. I don't think I've seen that video. If there is,
there's Dallas on the I can't remember what Periphery has so many albums now. I can't remember which album they were touring on, but It was that tour.
Now, did the As LA Dying guys, were they cool knowing that this was a song about about Oh Sleeper and the brotherhood you guys had?
And they were Oh Sleeper fans. I mean, they were stoked. They were stoked to have Micah on it. That's awesome. They never had any Oh Sleeper and Wovenwar guys never had any beef at all.
That's
there
awesome.
was no there was no jealous shit going back and forth. It was great.
I was actually watching an interview with Micah a few weeks ago, and he was talking about how, like, when after you did Wovenwar, during your time in Wovenwar, you came back and you had, like, he was talking about kind of what you were referencing about how everything was calculated and clean and just like it was different than how it worked in Oh Sleeper, and how, like, you kind of came back and kind of cleaned up shop a little bit. And it was
they had a rude awakening about, like, rehearsing and sounding good live. And because I mean, the Wovenwar guys put me through the ringer, dude. We had I don't know if you know the Descendants. Bill Stevenson, their drummer, recorded the first record, and that dude made me sing my ass off. I mean, I was singing all day, all night. If I wasn't in the booth, he wanted me, like, just with my acoustic crooning away. And it made my vocal cords to this day leather, and I never lose my voice anymore, and I definitely owe it to Bill Stevenson for sure.
So
I'll have to tell him that he'll get a kick out of that
for sure. So Wovenwar in general was just good for you as a vocalist.
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, I had to tour full time. We had an hour set whenever any In Flames tour we did, which we did a million. They slotted us for an hour set, so we had to play pretty much our whole first record.
Wow.
And just night after night after night. One of those was with Papa Roach and Jacoby. He gave me this, like, crazy vocal warm up thing that he's done for years and years and years, and it kind of saved his voice. And I did that for a long time, but then it just got to the point where I just didn't need it. I don't know.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, and now the new, I have this, like, country band that I'm doing.
I've seen the videos. I think it's so cool, by the way.
It's so much fun. It's so much better than metal. Oh my god. Anyway,
well, we might disagree there on the genre conversation.
No. I'm saying playing it.
Oh,
is so much better. And the crowds are so much better because they're not. It's not football practice in a pit, and, like, you have to do cardio. It's just people wanting to get drunk and dance with their trying to get laid with their girlfriend or whatever. Where was I going with this? What are we talking about? Who?
We were talking about you coming into Oh Sleeper and cleaning things up.
Oh yeah, had to clean up our live act a lot. But I mean, Zach is one of the best drummers I've ever met, and he cleaned up immediately. Like,
oh really?
He was already great. But he cleaned his feet up a lot, and just, I think he's a perfect drummer. So, and then it was really just, like, the guitar stuff in No Sleeper sucks. It sucks to play. It's hard. It sucks live. And so I had to practice my ass off on guitar. Even though my voice was great, the guitar work needed a lot of work.
If I'm honest, I have no idea what you're talking about. And the reason is because when I'm watching it, bro, I don't think, like, as a listener, right? I'm not looking up at you and saying, "Oh, Shane is having issues with that one part that he wrote himself."
Right. I know, but it's in my ears. We have an in-ear rig now, or we have for years now, and you hear everything so crystal clear in your ears. Like, every little mistake, you're like, "Oh, Seth just hit a wrong note," or, "Oh, did you miss that kick, Zach? Oh, Shane, that was flat."
Meanwhile, the snare might be drowning out that one part anyway,
a
little
bit.
Yeah.
But that's how what makes a good live band is just constantly talking shit.
Yeah.
With your other members.
So, dude, tell me about Prophet or Prophets. I don't actually remember which one it was now.
Prophets is a true story about how, when I was about 16, I was dating this chick, and I started going to her church with her. And then I was trying to just buy into it and see if I could believe the stuff that they were spitting, and it never worked. And then one day they had like this revival thing, and they decided to try to baptize me. And in this way where we went out to a parking lot, and there was like a bunch of people getting baptized, and they just threw water on me, laid hands on me, and just started like speaking in tongues and shit. And I just was like, all right, I'm out.
I'm out. Fuck?
Yeah, I mean, it's called Deliverance Bible Church, it's just a fucking, it's the worst. Like it doesn't matter. But yeah, so Prophet's Song just is basically me saying, this is whack. I don't get it. I wish I was naive and could just, buy into this stuff, because everybody seems like it's doing good stuff for him sometimes.
Sure.
But it made me so angry and so pissed off. And the pastor to that church was taking money from like 16-year-olds who were like gladly giving up their like lunch money or whatever. And one day at the church, I saw his wife with a Louis Vuitton bag.
Oh my God.
And I was like, fuck this. And that's another play on the word profits, because I think that, churches only do it for tax-free profit. But
I see. Yeah.
But yeah.
Dude, the church stuff. The church stuff
what?
resonates with me so much, just because, like, I don't know, you've come to Lynchburg a few times, but like the biggest Christian university in the country, Liberty University. Yeah. Dude, it is a horrible, horrible thing, like a stain on this city in general, in my opinion. And so, like, they have a mega church, Thomas Road Baptist Church, and I know that the Falwells have come up on Matt and Toby's podcast over the years. I don't know if you've listened to them, their stuff about it, but I grew up involved in stuff like that. And I was growing up seeing the type of things that you're describing happen, and at the same time listening to your music. So, like, it was so cool to have that as like a guide, not a guide, but you know what I mean, just throughout that process. And I think that helped me a lot in general, to be honest with you.
That's great. I mean, a lot of people have told me that about like Means to Believe and stuff. Like they have the same doubts and same worries about it and everything. So I'm glad. Good. And I try
not to dismiss like people's beliefs, right? Because beliefs can help you through the worst times. It's the organized religion thing that I'm like, fuck that, shut it down.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. I mean, I've said a million times, my best friend is a weirdo Christian, and I love him for it, because he's a great person, and that is a fundamental part of him. And yeah, I'm glad he's a Christian, because if he wasn't, he'd probably be in a gutter.
Sure. Yeah. And I am going to have Mike on the show one day, and that's going to be such a cool conversation to reflect back on this episode.
Yeah. Be like, Shane said he's glad you're a Christian. He'll be like, no, he did not say that. There's no fucking way Shane said that.
Hold on, let me play you a clip.
Yeah. Soundbite.
Oh man. Well, so let me ask you, what can you say? What can you talk about? Wovenwar, Oh Sleeper, future of any project? The floor is yours. I'm not going to push you one way or another, even though you did promise me 15 leaks.
Oh, I'm not promising shit. No way. Future of Wovenwar, I think probably not ever going to happen, because I think you'd have to have one of those guys on the show to really figure it out. But, Josh joined Spirit Box. He's a full-time member now of Spirit Box. Phil is back in As Lay Dying, sadly. And he's also in Seosin full-time. So
I did not know that.
Yep, he's touring with them right now.
That's sick.
Yep. And then Jordan, he didn't just get married, but he got married, and he runs Brick by Brick, this venue in San Diego, and he's got his hands full with that. So I would love to play with Jordan and Nick and do something at some point. Like, Jordan's still one of my favorite drummers in the world. I think he's the fucking hammer. And I love him so much. And I know that Josh is just never going to have time again.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, it was a great chapter, dude. I love both those albums, and I think that it was great, just for what it's worth.
And I still love the guys. I still talk to Nick. I mean, all we talk about is like butthead stuff about working out, but or dad stuff. He has 2 kids. I have a kid now. That's pretty much all we talk about. We talk, at least once a week, so we're still, BFFs.
Is it funny to you that probably your fans think that, oh, all those music guys, they still just all talk about music constantly 24/7, not, being an adult, being a dad.
No. I mean, we'll chat about music sometimes, but most of it's just like, dude, I saw your MyFitnessPal. I saw you went over on your calories yesterday. Like that's the stuff. That's the crap that Nick will write me, and I'm like, yeah, I had pizza, you bitch, or whatever.
That's amazing.
Yep.
So what about Oh Sleeper?
With Oh Sleeper, we have 3 songs that are completely recorded. They're not mixed. And then I've got 11 other songs in the chamber right now. I can't play you any of the ones that Micah's on, because he wouldn't want that anybody to hear that.
Okay.
Without them mixed and without,
sure.
Because these are just demo takes,
Yeah.
We're gonna go back and do all his vocals again. So I do have a ton of material, but I think that I'm not allowed to show anybody yet. Me and Micah are looking to go into the studio together again this summer. Micah just had a baby in January, so he's just in the shits right now. It's the first 6 months sucks.
Understood, and that is completely understandable.
But yeah, like I said earlier, we do have 3 songs that are completely done, and they're pretty much mixed too. I know Micah wants to go back and do some vocals. All mine are done on those songs. I sing on all of them. And then, I've got 11 more that I have 5 of them completely done, and then 6 that are just kind of not done. And then we also always leave like 2 slots on a record for me to write something acoustic while we're there. That's how Means to Believe came about. We wrote that in a day, all the lyrics in a day. That's how we made Reveries of Flight. That's how we did The Summit. We write those like either in 2 days or in 1 day and record it, and then it's done. Like for instance, Reveries, I had the whole first half done, and I knew what the heavy riff was going to be, but we didn't know what Micah's rant was going to be, at the end. And so I got all my lyrics done and all my takes done, and then he took that back to the hotel. And he just I guess laid in a bathtub because we were all just partying. So he went and just laid in a bathtub and listened to it for maybe 2 hours, and came back and that he had written the whole rant. And then the next day we went in the morning and he recorded it. And then Means to Believe, everybody had left, and then me and the producer just wrote that entire song together.
So that's something you got to show to Micah after.
And mixed. So me and Andreas did it in the morning. I did all the acoustic stuff in 2 takes. I wrote some piano stuff. He kind of handled all the drum, percussive type shit. And then I did all the singing in just a few takes, and we did all the harmonies in a few takes, and we mixed it for the most of that day.
Well, I can't tell you how excited I am that you still have that slot on the new upcoming record or EP or whatever it is.
Absolutely. We did. So 2 Ships was written that way as well. I had an idea sort of what I wanted, and Micah had a name, and he wanted it to be 2 Ships. I was like, okay. So in the studio, if you hear it on the record, there's these clinking things that are sort of rolling from right to left, and so in reality that was Andreas and Micah just rolling bottles across the floor, because we wanted it to sound like a ship was swaying and all the rum bottles were just going back and forth.
Dude, you could have told me you went online and found a ship noise and put it on the record, but that is so much cooler.
we recorded all that little nonsense. Anything you hear on that, we didn't look up anything, because I needed some time to put the riff together and put some melodies together and stuff. And so they had a few drinks and just went downstairs with a microphone and just started rolling stuff across the floor, and recording it. And then The Summit was written in a day as well. They went out to dinner and I just stayed home with the guitar at the studio and just came up with the riff. And we had already had a lyric block about climbing a mountain and then just wishing you were back at the bottom again. Yeah, we just finished it that day. I don't know if Andreas, our producer, I don't know if he had much fun with that because he hates that type of stuff. But it was great.
Dude,
I think, is there another song on that record that we did like that? I don't think so. I think the rest were pretty much demoed out from my studio. So anyway,
very cool.
Yeah, there's two slots for those songs. I mean, it might be like a 15-song record. Who knows?
And those will probably be my favorite songs on the record, if I'm being honest. Dude, yeah, but anyway, that is so cool. And like hearing those little tidbits about how records are made, just it makes the nerd in me smile. Like knowing I'm not a musician, but if I was, that's the stuff that I would do.
That's the funnest part about it. The little secrets on the records that no one knows that are there, but you do. That's the fun stuff for me.
Absolutely. Dude, Shane, I can't thank you enough for being on the show. I know you got to get rolling here, but I really appreciate you coming on, and I hope one day I can have you and Micah on at the same time, because I think that would just be amazing.
Well, we could. I mean, we could just kind of have the same setup here. Yeah, I'll tell him about it and see if he wants to do it. He's such, I mean, like I said, the newborn is taking up all the time right now, but yeah, we'll do it for sure.
Absolutely, man. Well, thank you again. And did you want to plug anything at the end here? Any social medias, any websites, anything at all?
Yeah, Chattahoocheemusic.com is my country act, and it's great. And if you're in Fort Worth, we play almost every weekend somewhere around the Metroplex, and it is so much fun. It started as a joke during COVID, and it turned into like bars and like venues starting to be like, hey, we saw y'all like dicking around on your Instagram. You want to actually come play a show? And then it just turned into a thing, and now it's part of my income.
I'm gonna pull a soundbite off your Instagram probably and put it in here on the episode if I have your permission to do that, because I think that there's going to be someone out there that thinks like me that is just so cool.
Well, I grew up as a country boy. I used to ride in rodeos and stuff when I was a kid and into my teens, and so country's always been sort of a part of my family and history. So
hell yeah, man.
Yeah.
Cool.
So it's a dream come true to actually have my parents come to a show and actually like the music, which is funny.
Now, have they seen Oh Sleeper and Wovenwar?
Oh my God, yeah. My mom's been to 1,000 Oh Sleeper shows. My stepdad too. My dad's been to one Oh Sleeper show, which was the one I keep talking about with Periphery. He went to that one because I hadn't been in town in like a year.
But they prefer the country stuff.
Oh my, yeah. Oh yeah. One of the funniest things my dad ever said to me, he goes, Shane, ain't no one wants to hear songs you wrote. All the best ones already written.
Oh my goodness. That is the best quote I've had on the show yet. I need you to understand that.
Yeah. And then one of the best things ever he said to me as well was we were broken down on the side of the road, and he knows a lot about cars. And so I texted him and I was like, hey Dad, we're broken down, this is happening, and what should I do? And he goes, join the Air Force. And that's the only thing I got. That was it. Anyway.
Oh, that's so funny. Well, dude, again, I know you gotta go, but thank you again so much.
All right, well, thanks for having me on.